Guys, it's time for some spoilers. Hello, everybody. This is EJ Fizzle here. Oh, there we go. And today we are going to be talking spoilers for Sonic the Hedgehog Movie 3. Now, if you haven't seen the last video, the spoiler free review, it'll be down in the description below. But other than that, Happy New Year. We're starting it off strong, guys. Alright, so Sonic the Movie 3. Sonic the Hedgehog movie 3. Sonic movie 3. It doesn't matter. This movie was really fun and enjoyable, and I loved every second of it. Like I don't think I can love this hedgehog a lot enough. Especially when they have a certain other hedgehog in there that I also like. So we're gonna start with I'm gonna give you like a rough summary of this movie, and then we're gonna go on to each like character and tell you what I liked, and that's about it. This is just me gushing over the movie, and I'll be talking full on spoilers. So I'm talking post credit, end credit, scenes that you definitely shouldn't hear right now. So if you somehow, some way, have not seen this movie, click off this video, go watch the spoiler free one, and go watch this movie. Okay? Okay. We got this. Yeah, okay. You understand? All right. So let's start with the beginning. So it starts with Sonic, Tails, Knuckles on Earth racing to see who is the fastest. We all know who wins this one. It's Sonic. But what he doesn't know is it was actually a trick so that they can do a party for his birthday. It's basically the day that Sonic the Hedgehog got to Earth and started this whole adventure. So, it's a journey. It's just a party for him, okay? So, and meanwhile, Gun like goes down to tell Sonic, hey, we need Team Sonic to go and take on Shadow because we got our asses handed to us. Because they don't even they start the movie where it ended in 2 with Shadow waking up, breaking out, beating some guys up, and then leaving to go to Tokyo, where he goes and he stumbles upon one of the signs that says 2024, and he's like, wait, have I been asleep for over 50 years? And it finds the gun agents and basically loses his mind and beats them all up. So, Team Sonic goes over there, finds the hedgehog. They have a nice confrontation where Sonic's like, why you look at me? And Shadow's like, I don't look like you. You look like me. Why you look like me? And, they fight. Shadow wins because he's the best. And they go to the child cafe to go talk to the general who tells them all about Shadow and how basically they had the same outcome or the same income where both of them came from a different planet to Earth, but they have a different outcome where Sonic found friends and family, but Shadow only found pain and loss with Maria, Gerald, and Gun. And so after that, Robotnik eggs show up, blow up the place, kill the general, and then Sonic finds one of the key cards and keeps it. And then him and Team Sonic go chase after this guy, Agent Stone, who was in a motorcycle who stopped the egg babies, as Robotnik calls them. And then, Agent Stone and Knuckles have this funny confrontation where Knuckles is like, it's the goat milker! And then, Agent Stone mimics him and says, yeah, it's the goat milker, relax. I'm on your side. And then they go and find Robotnik, who's throughout this 2 years, it would have been 2 years because Sonic 2 came out in 2022. He's been sitting around eating, getting fat, and growing man boobs. So, they find him. They're like, hey, we unfortunately need your help. And then he's like, on one condition. And it takes the quill. And so they team up for a little bit. And, hijinks ensue. Shadow remembers his time with this girl named Maria. And Maria was like the only person that ever cared about Shadow, which sucks. And they have like this cute little montage. And then I'm not a, okay, so I'm not a big Sonic fan, all right? I know, I know. I'm more of a big Five Nights at Freddy's fan, but that doesn't mean that I don't hate Sonic. I just don't know the lore, all right? Because I had to deal with this bear of a franchise lore. So anyway, that's not the point. So if you don't know what happens to Maria, you will know in this movie that Maria does in fact die. So in the actual games, Maria dies through gunshot, but since this is a kids movie and Hollywood's a little baby boy, instead of shooting her, they blow her up, which I don't think makes things better, but how they did it was like in a PG way, so it's okay, apparently. So, Shadow just remembers all the good times he had and then remembers the hatred he has towards Gun, and Gerald and Shadow unite, and then the Hedgehog Sonic comes back with Robotnik, and one by one, Shadow takes each of them down and then goes and makes friends, quote unquote, with Agent Stone Robotnik because Robotnik's like, that's my dad or my grandfather. And they make this funny joke where they break the fourth wall saying, it's like we're one actor playing two characters in the movie. So that actually got me cracking up. I thought that was funny. And sorry, I'm like thinking for a second what else happens. Oh yeah, so they go in the crab and they go seek out the second key because Gerald wants to activate this giant weapon that Gunn just happened to ask him to build, and in exchange for freedom. So they go find the key. Shadow gets the key while punching the living crud out of Tom, which by the way, Tom and Maddie do not have as much like character growth or screen time as the others, which I thought was really nice because I know how people didn't like the wedding scene in number two, and they wanted less characters and more hedgehog, which is I would like. Don't get me wrong, but I know CGI is really expensive, so just trying to make a movie out of a bunch of CGI characters can be difficult. Like, if I were to ask for a Five Nights at Freddy's movie with just the animatronics, they would be in debt because they would have to spend so much time on these robots because they were practical. Anyway, enough of the bear movie. Back to the hedgehog. So Sonic finds out that Tom is basically dying because he got Falcon punched by Shadow, and he gets really upset and tries to get the Chaos Emerald, which Wade has because that's who Knuckles gave him, because Knuckles, in his eyes at least, or Wade and Knuckles' eyes at least, was the warrior, the warrior that cannot be stopped. And they have this conversation where, Knuckles is like, hey man, you're not in the condition to fight right now, all right? Just calm down. And then you would think that they're about to like kill each other, but he abides by the oath of trusting each other, even if one person breaks that bond or trust. So he basically tells him, hey, have fun trying to fight my warrior. And Sonic gets it pretty easily, turns into Super Sonic, and we get one of the best fighting scenes ripped straight out of any anime, specifically Dragon Ball, where Sonic and Shadow fight on the moon. No, yes, they fight on the moon, and Shadow punches the living hell out of Sonic to where he loses the Chaos Emeralds. And then when they both touch it, they both turn super. So that's awesome. And then they just fight. They just keep fighting around the world. And while that's happening, Gerald spills the beans on Robotnik, saying, "Hey, we're not actually gonna conquer the world. We're just gonna blow it up and kill ourselves. So we're just gonna commit mass genocide and kamikaze all in one day." And Robotnik's obviously pretty upset. Like, dude, I thought we were gonna rule the world together. You can't just do this to me. And then Gerald pulls out one of the coldest lines, which is "You're no Maria," which doesn't sound like it could be like a really impactful line, but if you're a huge Sonic fan, you know it's pretty impactful because you know that all Gerald really cared about was Maria, and since Maria was gone, the only thing he could think about was the pain and suffering, and no one, you know, was really there for him. And it's actually more sad the more I think about it and talk about it. So yeah, so they fight. While they're fighting, Sonic and is about to beat the living, like the kill shot on Shadow, until Shadow's like, "Hit me right here," and Sonic, ooh, ow, remembers what Tom said about like him not letting the past get to him and not letting that pain get to him and change who he is. So Sonic stops trying to murder Shadow, and they have a heart to heart where Sonic's like, "Hey, don't hang on to the pain. You need to let go and just think of the good times you had with her." And they both look at the stars, and Shadow recalls a moment with Maria where he's like, "Hey," or where she's like, where he's doubting himself and saying, "Am I even? Do I even belong here? Like, I don't even know where I came from." And Maria's like, "Well, a star that dies out can still shine on." So, that was really sad. I was pretty bummed out. And then after that, they do the best dab me up and then turn back into Super, go after the Robotniks, and Gerald says this line, which really confused me. He said, "Oh, Shadow, you chose betrayal, and you were once so useful to me." And hold on, what the hell do you mean by that? Because you basically treated Shadow like he was your own, and you pull this fast one. So when I heard this line the first time, and after watching it a couple times, I was thinking to myself, like, wait, so did you ever care about Shadow, or was it just Maria? Because if you remember, like a few seconds of this video ago, said one of the lines Gerald says was, "You're no Maria the Robotnik," and then saying that I I just didn't understand it. I was befouled. But anyway, Gerald throws out these giant robots, and Sonic and Shadow kill those robots, blow them up, all the fun stuff. He uses Chaos Wind or Chaos Control. He uses one of the Chaos moves where like these little bird-looking arrows like strike a bunch of robots, and then they both do the pose from the cover while listening to Live and Learn it's playing. And I know a bunch of people, especially in my theater, were losing their goddamn minds. So that was nice. Me personally, I did not like I said, the only games that I've ever played of Sonic was the DS game, Super Smash Brothers, and Colors. So it was mainly what was imported from the Nintendo. And now after watching this movie, I'm so tempted to buy Shadow and Sonic Generations. So yay. There's another franchise I care about. We're going to put that over Pokemon, Five Nights, and then Sonic. But I mainly knew Sonic from the TV shows, and yeah, it was really fun to see this movie. But we're not done with this movie yet, because Sonic and Shadow try to stop this giant laser from killing the Earth, and they pinpoint it to the moon. And I'm gonna do a meme here. You ready? He pissed on the moon. Robotnik pissed on the moon. Okay, and Sonic loses his capability to super because he doesn't have that much strength of Shadow. So while he's about to go fall to his doom thanks to gravity, Knuckles and Tails save the day, save Sonic. Shadow and Robotnik sacrifice each other. Movie ends knowing that Tom survived, and then we get to the post-credit scene where Metal Sonic's in it. Yes, Metal Sonic, and he looks just like he does in in the games, which was crazy. I didn't think they were gonna do that. I thought they were gonna give him. Where's my Sonic popcorn bucket? I need an excuse to use him. I thought they were gonna use like just do this design but robotic, but no, no. Stripped from the game. I don't know if they're gonna change that design when like the final design, but if they don't, that is the like really cool. I love that. Okay, so Metal Sonic's introduced, and then they introduced Amy, which I was excited for, but I knew was gonna come. I knew she was gonna be in there, and it was because I mean it was that you got to complete the Sonic team. It's always Tails, Knuckles, Sonic, and Amy, and then there's like Rouge, but the Rouge wasn't revealed, and then Shadow survives by the end credits. He picks up one of his little rings, and the movie ends. So that was the entire movie, spoiled for you guys. So now we're gonna talk about the characters. We're gonna start with the human characters, and we're gonna go into the actual hedgehogs and echidnas and foxes. So we're gonna start with Tom and Maddie. Like I said before, they don't have that much of a purpose as they did in the first two movies. They're basically there to be to like help Sonic be like their father and mother figure in the movie, and to help with stealing one of the keys, and that was about it. I mean, obviously Tom got the most like care and care, well, I wouldn't say character development. I would say the most impact of the movie because obviously Sonic thinks that he died. Hold on. Which gets Sonic to go and try to kill Shadow. But besides that, they didn't really play much of a big role in that movie. Robot now Agent Stone though, he was good in the movie. I liked him as Agent Stone. I liked the goat Milka and scene, and when he talks about Guac and how he's trying to like save Robotnik from dying, and then he gets sad, and there's not much to say about him except that basically what happens in the other two movies is just more explained and more out there. And yeah, that's about it for Agent Stone. The Robotniks, though, I got a lot to say about them. So we're gonna start with Gerald because he's got the least amount of, I wouldn't say care or writing, but he had the least amount of I wouldn't say purpose either. He's not. Never mind. We're gonna start with Gerald, but I don't know how to really explain it to make it make sense. So, Gerald was basically the backbone of this movie. He was the one who brought Robotnik to him. He was the one who built the machine that he wanted to use to destroy the Earth. He was the one who tricked Robotnik and I guess Shadow in the sense. So he was basically the mastermind. And I know people were saying from that dance scene that they were gonna make Gerald, a joke, which I wouldn't have minded much because one, they're both played by the same character or same actor, Jim Carrey. So I wouldn't be surprised, but they really surprised me where he was just pretending to be this goofy grandpa when really he was just a madman who kept hanging on to the past and the trauma and wanted to do something about it and couldn't handle life without it, which is really dark. And Robotnik in this movie, no, Ivo, I'm gonna call him just Dr. Robotnik because it's more iconic. He looks more into it to the games, and I'm not just saying that because he's fat, but because he actually gets the suit that he wears in like every game and movie or game and show. And he plays a bigger role. He kind of has like this redemption arc. I say that in quotes because in the end he does sacrifice himself to save the earth with Shadow the Hedgehog. So he kind of has that redemption arc. He has some funny moments like when he pushes Gerald into the lasers and says, "Yeah, I didn't think it was going to work until now." or when they both have this really, I'm not gonna say funny scene because a lot of you are gonna get mad at me, and I know one of you in particular is gonna get really mad at me when I say that it was pretty funny. But that's okay. It was a funny joke to me. It also caught me off guard where they were talking. It was like this lady, government agent who took the key back from Robotnik, and he's like, "I can't believe this." And Gerald's like, "Yeah, a woman in the military." When I tell you, I got the most the I got it. I can't even explain it, but just know that I took a friend to go see that. She gave me a dirty look when that scene came, and I laughed. And I looked at her. Yeah, uh, I still thought it was funny. Okay, it caught me off guard definitely. And Robotnik had, like I said, Robotnik has a redemption arc, and he realizes that Stone isn't actually, just his minion, but actually his friend, and that kind of warmed my heart a little bit. And now let's get on to the CGI characters, the ones you've been waiting for. Sorry to leave it in the end, but I do have a lot to talk about each of them. So we're gonna start with Tails and Knuckles because they had like the exact same screen time as Gerald, as the Robotniks, and it maybe Agent Stone. So Tails didn't really have that much of a role. He did like try to support Sonic, and he basically was there to be like, "Hey Sonic, we're a team, right? You can't just leave us." And he did save, quote unquote, Sonic, because really Knuckles saved them both. But he had a good heart. He was good. Knuckles had more of a role than I thought he was gonna be playing. Now, granted, not a bigger role, not as big as like Knuckles. No, never mind. Sonic 2. He was there to be like, hey, as like the big brother supporting each other, making funny jokes. Like when he made fun of Tails for because a little kid said, "Are you Detective Pikachu?" And he's like, "Pika Pika." That was hilarious. And the he also had some like heart to heart moments, like I said, with the scene where when he was about to like fight Sonic over the Emerald, and then realizing he swore an oath, and even though Sonic broke that oath, he's still gonna respect him for it. That was nice and heartwarming. And we're going to talk about Sonic now. Sonic had the most growth. Throughout the movies, he has this little growth and arc where he grows up, basically. Sonic, the first movie, was cocky and, jokey. And in the second movie, it was relatable and was able to be relating to people, specifically Knuckles. And in the third movie, he was basically not only relatable to Shadow, but also relatable and has his own sense of being like, hey, even though, him thinking that Tom died really got to his head. And when he finally got that wake up call from Shadow, he realized, hey, I shouldn't, he, I shouldn't try to kill Shadow for what he did because that's not what a hero does. And he becomes more of a hero. Shadow had the most, I like to think he had the most screen time out of everybody. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but when we first see him, he's all angry and mad and has that trauma of Maria in the back of his mind, and he can't stop thinking about it. And even talking to Gerald Robotnik doesn't really help because all Gerald's like is like, "Yeah, I know, but don't worry, we're gonna stop that. We're gonna stop that. We're gonna make that go away by blowing up the Earth." What? And but when we get to I'm gonna before we get to his story, I do want to mention some funny lines with the Shadow plushie, like when Agent Stone talks about the guac, he's like "revenge guac," or when he plays that when he's watching the same soap opera as Robotnik did, and he's like, "She should kill both of them. She is not a prize to be won." Those were pretty funny, but besides that, he was basically just the emotional part of the movie where you relate to him. He's also badass, as always. And when he really talked down to Sonic, it really got to Sonic. And if it wasn't for Shadow saying to hit him right here, he probably would have died straight up, no joke. Uh, and his sacrifice in the end, in quotes, because he survives at the end of the movie. Um, that really hit hard, and yeah, I mean that's about it. That's all that's all I could say about it. That's a wrap on this episode of movie reviews. Next episode, I'm gonna be talking about Nosferatu, which I have a lot to say. So until then, I will see y'all in the next video, and y'all have a great rest of your day. Alrighty, bye bye.